Okay, are you ready? I have got a fabulous core and back workout ready for you. We have got 4 exercises. We're going to do each of them 50 seconds with a 10-second break, 4 times over, and then we've got a 30-second break in between that. First one we've got is our side plank. So as we come down into this position, I want you to get so that your elbow and your knees are kind of in the same line, and you've got like 90 degrees between the hips. From here, the time is going to ding. That's our 50 seconds started. You're just going to push all the way up, and you'll notice that in this position your elbow and the hips and the knees should all be in one position. And when you're in this position, you want to make sure that those hips are stacked over one another so that you're not leaning forwards one way or not leaning backwards the other. Feel like you're squeezing through the side muscles as well, and trying to keep those hips as far away from the ground as you can. Other arm, doesn't really matter what you do with it. It can come up onto your hips. You can take it up above you. Your choice, really. And you want to keep squeezing. You want to make sure you're breathing as well. If you want to increase the challenge of that, then really feel like you're squeezing those legs together again. So the elbows in line with those knees, 90 degrees in between the top of the body and the legs, and we're going to come all the way up again. So this should get us into a nice position. And by doing this on our knees, it just puts less of a strain on our body, essentially. So this is a fantastic one to start with when we're looking to build that side stomach muscle strength. So push the ground away. If it feels like it's a little bit painful through the knees or through the elbows, then just double over the mat or put something comfy underneath. There is no need to be in pain when you do not need to be. We have got last 5 seconds, so squeeze those stomach muscles. You should be able to feel them working. Good. Come all the way down. We're going to take it over to the other side. So knees in line, 90 degrees through the body. Push those hips forwards. If it feels like it's not quite right, you can adjust slightly. Some people feel like having their elbow slightly further away from their shoulder is better. But it all depends on you. Everybody is built different. So just find a position that works for your body. Keep squeezing, make sure you're breathing. If you want to, squeeze those glutes. And also feel like you're lengthening through the body. So the worst thing we can do in this position is kind of like sink into things. Feel like you are proud of the exercise that you are doing, that you're lengthening through the back, and that you are strong and sturdy. Good. Come down nice and slow, and we have got our last round on this side. Push through those hips, come all the way up, squeeze through those glutes. You are strong, you are sturdy. Every single exercise you do helps build that strength. Good. Squeeze everything in. Have a feel, keep those hips on top of one another. You can squeeze those glutes, but make sure you're breathing. Sometimes we focus so much on just squeezing or engaging those stomach muscles or any kind of muscles that we stop breathing. Please do breathe. We need to breathe because that helps send oxygen to our body. How are we doing? Last 5 seconds. Get those hips up even higher and come down and just relax. So at the end of this 10-second short break, we have got a 30-second break, and I'm going to set you up for your next exercise. We have a glute bridge. For this glute bridge, I want you to come into a lying position, either by coming down onto your side and lying backwards, or if you want to, you can hold the backs of the legs. You're going to breathe out. And I want you to come down with control, vertebrae by vertebrae. From here, just make sure you can just about brush the backs of the heels with your fingertips, and that your heels are roughly bum cheek width apart. And from here, you're going to push through the ground And you're going to draw that back up vertebrae by vertebrae until your knees, your hips and your shoulders are in line. Come all the way down nice and slow. So what we're looking for in all of these exercises are control. So feel free to speed things up, slow things down. It's always good to experiment with these exercises, but make sure that whatever you're doing, it's with control. So speed things up if you fancy, but again, that control needs to be there. As soon as that control isn't there, then just slow it down until you've regained the control. This working on the control builds up the small muscles and gets them to work, as well as the big muscles. Okay, so we've got 3 more rounds of this. Technique tip, try not to let those knees come out when the hips come up. Sometimes what happens is we don't have energy between our knees. They flop out like this. Try and keep some energy, try and keep some tension between those knees. They don't need to be pressed together, but you want to feel like those inner thighs are doing some work as well. And glute bridges are fantastic because these are going to build that strength back in the glutes and also through the lower back. So they work together just to help strengthen our core as a whole. If you want to get extra brownie points, breathe out as your hips come up and gather in the pelvic floor. Release and breathe in as you come down. Have a little twist. Move in these short breaks in a way that feels good for you. Let's come all the way up now. Squeezing through those glutes, coming all the way down. Try and make these movements nice and mindful. And try and focus on the muscles that you are engaging. Studies have shown that when you are focusing on the muscles that we're working, we actually get more out of them. So when you think of all those times that you might be doing workouts in front of the TV, watching something, or on your exercise bikes, watching something, you might not be getting the most from your workout. Good, and just relax. We got one more round? We do, we have one more round. Okay. Let's go for it. This time I want you to squeeze and hold for 3, 2, and 1. Come all the way down nice and gently. Come all the way up and squeeze for 3, 2, and 1. Really squeeze through your glutes as you come up. If you feel like there's a little bit of pain through that lower back, then just don't come up so high. Sometimes we come up so high that we actually arch through that lower back, and that's not what we're looking for here. Come up, squeeze and hold for 3, 2, and 1. Come all the way down nice and gently. 3, 2, and 1. Come down nice and gently. 3, 2, and 1. Good, and just relax. I'm just going to pull one knee in and take it into a small circle. Just to release a little bit of tension through that lower back. So now we've got 30 seconds and I'm going to set you up for the next exercise, which is Pilates curls. So for Pilates curls, it's kind of what it says on the tin really. You are going to place the hands either up on the top of your legs or you can place them by your ears. You're going to breathe out and the head, the shoulder and the top half of your back is going to come up. Going to hold this here for a second and come back down. Let's go. It's a bit like you're trying to get those fingers up towards those knees. Hold it there for a second and come back down. The things that we're looking for as we do this is for all the sort of warning signs that we are increasing the pressure internally, which we don't want to do, is if, say, our tummy comes up into a point, like a little mountain, or if we get what's known as bread loafing, where the stomach muscles kind of pop up and our tummy gets a lot bigger. What we want to feel like we're doing is almost like we're sort of drawing everything in. And you can actually feel by placing your hands on those stomach muscles if they are working, and also what's happening with them. Take your 10-second break, as in, as you come up, are they coming up? Does it feel like you're pushing out against your stomach to get you that strength? You want to feel like you're drawing them down. Imagine you're drawing your belly button in towards your spine and you're pulling those ribs down as well. If you feel like there's a lot of strain through the neck, then just place the hands underneath your head. Breathing out as you come up, breathing in as you come down. So this works those six-pack muscles, the rectus abdominal muscles that we have two coming down side by side just by your belly button. Focus on the breathing. If you're going to use the breathing, and I strongly suggest you do, breathe out together on the pelvic floor and come down again. 10-second break. So don't forget that we want to focus on using these stomach muscles rather than lifting this head up and off the ground. So really feel like it's those stomach muscles that are doing the work and the head is just coming along for the ride. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out, gather on the pelvic floor. Breathe in and just relax. Good, and just come down. Have a little bit of a stretch. Have a bit of a wriggle. Only got a couple more rounds left, not long to go. So things that you're looking out for, again, and why it's bad for, or not why it's bad, or why it's not optimal for if these stomach muscles kind of pop up like this, is because that indicates that we are holding our breath and we are pushing out. We're sort of bearing down, pushing out, because our sort of stomach muscles are essentially, abdominal muscles are essentially like a cylinder. So it's a bit like a balloon. The more air you fill them with, the harder it gets. And the more we kind of hold our breath, then the more kind of strength we feel like we're getting. But if we do that, we're not necessarily using our muscles as much as we could be using. So that's why it's not an optimal way of doing things for holding your breath and pressing out. Let's come all the way up. We have our last exercise. I hope you are excited. We're going to take these into bird dogs. So for these bird dogs, you want to come into an all fours position so that your shoulders are stacked over the wrists and the hips are stacked over the knees. And from here, we're going to take opposite arm and opposite leg out, take them back in, and then switch over sides. In 3, 2, and 1. Opposite arm and opposite leg comes out. We pick it up, we place it back down, and we change over. Now, what you're going to notice here is that I am trying to keep my back in the same position at all times. So my hips are going to constantly be facing down. My shoulders are going to be on a level. And if I was going to have a tray filled with cups of tea or coffee or vodka, whatever your chosen beverage might be, then it is not going to rock from backwards to forwards and nothing is going to spill. Got last 5 seconds. Try and keep those stomach muscles engaged. Try and keep this nice and steady. Have a little bit of a wriggle around. What you do in that break Doesn't matter what you do as long as it feels good for you. I'm just going to show you this in a slightly different angle. So feel as well like you are being pulled into, sort of pulled apart. So again, you want to have a nice, strong movement. You don't want any kind of half-heartedness. And you definitely just don't want to do this any old how. Make this focused movements. Taking it back down. Keep pushing the ground away. Keep that back nice and long. One of the things you might see, especially on Instagram, is people doing this. And the arms and the legs come up nice and high. And there's a lot of movement through the back. What we're looking to get here is core stability. And we also want to have that kind of like anti-rotation. So in order to get that, we need to kind of keep our torso still. Let's go. And there are many, many different ways to take this up a level and to make it more challenging. So again, you want to find a speed that works for you. So it might be a similar speed to what I'm doing. You might decide to speed it up. But again, if you do speed it up, take it at a speed that you still have control. What we want to do is to reduce our risk of injury. And often injuries happen when we are doing movements that are fast, that our body isn't prepared for. And also it can happen when we are putting strain in a muscle which is too weak for the amount that we are loading it. Last one, and then we are done. Okay, let's make this a good one. Amazing technique. Stretch things out, focusing on the breathing. So we exhale on the effort, breathing out as the arm and the leg come away from each other. Breathing in as we take it back down. Try and keep some gentleness in the elbows as well, so that we are not locking things out. Three, 2, and 1. Just come back, sit on your heels, place the backs of your hands on the ground, and then just sit back to stretch a little bit through those wrists. And then just to stretch out through the back, we're going to come again onto all fours, and we're going to take it into a very gentle, slightly exploratory cat-cow. Again, we don't want to do things too quickly or too suddenly until we've explored that movement and our body is okay with it. From here, take your hands closer in towards your knees and again push the ground away. We're going to arch through that back, and we've got a couple of downward dogs through here. I call this the Halloween cat. Right, and you are done. Well done, good work.